So, speaking of which, before we get into the whole discussion of like Lovecraft and the movies that the one of the recommendations that we had, I figured it was fitting since I know you watch a lot of movies, and considering we're in a pandemic right now, I went through IMDb and I made a short list of pandemic themed movies, and I thought we could go down the list and and discuss those like really quickly, like our snap reactions to them. I don't know if you've seen some of these, but I kind of tried to pick some that are a little bit more well known, and then throw in a few hidden gems.
All right,
So
shoot.
up first, we got probably the most.
Although I swear to Christ, if you add Birdemic, I'm gonna leave.
I should have put that one on there. I'd much rather be living in a birdemic right now than a pandemic.
Well, yeah, you can just go out, buy a shotgun, load it full of birdshot, and defend your home.
Exactly. Or at the very least, just open up the window and have a good source of comic relief no matter where you look.
Yeah, just extreme skeet shooting.
Exactly. So, number one on the pandemic movie list, I had Contagion by Steven Soderbergh. The one where it's like the kind of the serious, like, oh my god, there's this new flu virus that's
I don't think I actually watched Contagion.
it's kind of funny because it's like the one that's like the most grounded in reality, I feel like, out of all of these. It is kind of just it's almost an exact mirror situation of what's going on today, where you got like some animal gets like this weird disease and then passes it on to like one person who doesn't wash their hands, and then it goes to the next person, and it just kind of is like,
Didn't it start in like China or something?
yeah, it's almost an exact it's kind of weird too because it came out back in like 2010, but it's almost like an exact analogy or like mirror of what's going on today. Although
Oh,
the consequences in that movie were way more catastrophic, but yeah.
yeah, and China didn't try and shame everyone into going, oh, this virus came from China.
Yeah, exactly. But it's what it kind of does is it's like one of those like non-linear movies where it's like this 5 or 6 things going on at once, and it like bounces between them. Like there's like one story where there's like the CDC is like trying to figure out a vaccine for it. There's one where you got like this Alex Jones-esque conspiracy theorist guy who's like, the media is lying to you, and I'm the one who knows how to actually cure it. And then you got like this dad who's like isolating with his like teenage daughter, and the daughter wants to sneak out and see her boyfriend, and it's like parts of it are a little bit cheesy, but it is kind of, I put it on here because I thought it was the most realistic of any of the other movies I saw on the list. I think with it's kind of like with the idea of like having a pandemic, it's almost like such a far-fetched concept that I guess like we never really think that it can happen. So the inclination is to kind of make it more like zombie apocalypse-esque and fantastical and all that. Yeah, exactly.
The
But
Crazies. I watched that the other day.
that's actually another. I didn't
That was
put
a
that on the list, but
fantastic.
yeah,
It's not. It's kind of a mix of a pandemic movie and
yeah.
a zombie movie.
Maybe
And
more like an epidemic, because I mean there's an implication whether it's gonna spread, but it is kind of isolated to like the one place the
the
whole
two
time.
towns they show.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
that
it
is a
was.
good one though. I should have put that one on there.
You know, like I rewatched it just because I saw something on YouTube and I was like, oh hey, I should rewatch that. And it was, I mean, some bits of it are a little dated. I mean,
Mhm.
as all movies are, but it was a really good pandemic movie.
Yeah, I really like the scene where like shit gets real at like the treatment center or whatever, and you have all the people who are like strapped down, and the one dude is like going bed to bed, like,
The
yeah,
principal shows up with like a pitchfork and he's just stabbing people.
like it is kind of ridiculous, but I do like that scene because it's like that. It's just part of it is so like unsettling.
It's actually kind of funny because I've been on this role playing server,
Okay.
and at one point we had just recently we had a story plot line where we created a virus, for, of course, story purposes.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminded me of The Crazies.
Mm.
Short little side note. But yeah, continue.
So then, yeah, next up on the list we got a kind of weird, contentious, I guess is the word for it, movie, World War Z, where people who did see it are kind of like, meh, and the people who saw it and were like fans of the book were like, this is a piece of shit. So it's like one of those weird overlooked movies that no one really talks about.
The pandemic part was how they tried to do the zombie virus, and of course with Max, blanking on his name, Max Brooks.
Mm.
The way he wrote it in the original book was also not to get too into it. It was very interesting. It was a good take on it.
Yeah.
And
wasn't the book more about like the rebuilding afterwards, or was it like? Because I thought I heard that from somewhere.
From what I remember, because it's been a long time since I've read the book. From what I remember, it was very much like it took place. It was like multiple storylines, but it always dealt with the zombies. I can't. It's escaping me right now, but I believe it was like from the beginning of the zombie apocalypse or epidemic to the
like the rebuilding,
to like the rebuilding in the aftermath.
Okay.
But the movie, well, not as good as the book, and I hate that term. I hate it when people are like, the book was better. I'm like, yes, the book is always, with the exception of like Twilight, where the book's already shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the book's always going to be better.
I don't think it's always necessarily a case of like the book is going to be better. It's just no matter what happens, it's so subjectively different because there's no way that the author can go out and make, even if the author is like writing, directing, and editing the movie version of their source material, it's never going to be 100% because you got so many other people working on it. You got producer interference. So I think it's just inherently like, unless someone just didn't read the book at all and they just made something terrible for the sake of having a cash grab, I think that it oftentimes it boils down to just it's two different subjective experiences that are, you're just going to get two different things out of it. Like the people who are like, oh, Harry Potter's a piece of shit because his eyes are a different color, like like that's just flat out dumb. But like, yeah, it I don't know. That's my rant on.
You're exactly right. Like, it's one of those things where it is such a subjective thing that it's just never going to be good enough for certain people.
Mm-hmm.
And are they wrong for thinking that way? I'm not gonna completely say so. I think it is, but again, that's subjective.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's mostly to not give a movie a chance, or I should state people who say it's terrible without giving the movie a chance.
Yeah. I think if you go into something and you give it like, even if you know you're not really gonna like it, I think everything kind of deserves a fair chance one way or the other.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So then, speaking of adaptations that people didn't, that some people really didn't like, probably the most well known on the next up on the list is I Am Legend.
I never saw or read the original source material where I Am Legend came from. When I watched it in theater with one of my friends, it was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I was young and I was at that stage where I never wanted to see a dog die in a movie. So when the dude's best friend, the dog, had to be put down, I was just like hiding my fucking head. Like, nope, I don't want to see this. I don't want to hear the dog die. And it just made me sad and not like the movie.
Yeah.
I rewatched it later and I'm like, oh, this is okay.
Yeah.
The part where he goes crazy, I find is the most interesting. Kind of like a little bit of a study on what isolation can do to you.
Mm-hmm.
But it was okay.
You know, a study on what's going to happen to us in 2 months' time when since we're not allowed to leave.
Well, I'm allowed to leave.
I thought that I was gonna be able to leave for a while, and then they were like, "No, non-essential. Just park your ass at your computer desk at home, and that's all you're good for."
What? Yes, you're that learning shit. We don't need that. We don't need
Basically,
them educations down in our country.
basically. But yeah, the one thing that I liked about I Am Legend that not a lot of people talk about is on the DVD. They did this thing where I guess there was like a graphic novel tie-in after the movie was released, and they did this thing where like they animated some of the stories in the graphic novel and put them in like the DVD extras as like short films, where it talks about like uh the pandemic in different parts of the world. And there were some I thought really interesting stories in there. Like there was this one about like where it's like the exact same situation where it's like in Tokyo, like there's only one person left who isn't a zombie, and it's like her last day before she decides to kill herself, and she leaves like this like suicide note, and the whole thing is her just kind of like wandering around the what's left of Tokyo during the day, and just kind of taking everything in. There was a really good one that I think it's almost like a if you could expand this into an actual movie, I feel like it would do really well. But it was like in India, you have this like rich family who have built like a bunker to isolate themselves until the whole thing blows over. And it's like a dad, a mom, a young boy, and like a teenage girl. And the girl is like, I need to go say goodbye to my boyfriend before we go down there. And she goes out, and he's like, it's too late for me. I'm infected. You need to get back to your family. And then she runs back, but her family has already locked themselves inside the bunker. And the dad is worried that she's infected. So they're like, we're not going to let you in. Stay outside the door for 2 days, and if you're still fine, then we'll let you in. And then it like shows her over the course of, like the 2 days, she gets a little bit sick, but then she seems to kind of recover. And then they open the door, and there are these like monsters inside the bunker who have like supposedly killed her family or whatever. So she like fights them and manages to kill them, and runs away to like go find her boyfriend. And she finds the boyfriend, and he seems like he's okay. And they're like, well, let's go back to the bunker. We'll be safe there. And then they go back to the bunker, and you find out that like they're both like fully infected, and the monsters or whatever that the girl killed were actually her family. And she went so crazy that like she saw them as monsters instead of people. And like that's how it ends. But like yeah, there was a bunch of really good short films on that DVD that came out of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're all. I think there's like 4 or 5 of them. They're all maybe like 5-6 minutes long. So and I'm pretty sure most of them are on YouTube. So if you get the chance, I recommend checking those out. What do you think of the before we go on with I Am Legend? What do you know about like the alternate ending? Do you think that was like a because some people were like were very contested about whether they liked the ending that the filmmakers chose versus they shot another alternate ending that some people thought was better, other people thought it was shitty. What was your opinion on it?
I do not care.
You're fine with the one that's in the movie?
I'm fine with either one. It makes no difference to me.
Okay.
I'm not a huge fan of the movie. I didn't read the source material. It's not a big in.
Yeah.
I could take either or.
That's kind of one thing that the book was very I haven't read it in ages, but the book was more like supernatural, if that makes sense. Like the movie kind of turned it into like a science gone wrong thing, and like the people are just like hyped up zombies or whatever. In the book, it's people are just literally flat out turning into vampires, and most of the world has been eliminated.
Isn't it called Omega Man?
I think so, yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember hearing something about that. But either way,
yeah,
I don't care.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know if you've seen this one, but I had some good opinions on it. It Comes at Night. It came out in the past few years.
Which one was that again?
It's kind of it's not really about like a pan like it's kind of like I like to call it a better version of A Quiet Place. It's like this.
I fucking hated A Quiet Place.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's like a similar sort of setup where you have like a dad, a wife, they have a kid, and then the wife's father is still alive, but he gets off like really early on in the movie. It's working under this premise where there's been this like global pandemic that has wiped out most people in the world. It doesn't turn you into a monster or whatever. It just makes you like violently sick and then you die, and there's no way to like recover from it at all if you catch it. So it's like this. They have this like compound in the woods, and they've isolated themselves out there. And then this other family shows up and are like, please, we need help, we need supplies and all that. So this first family lets the second family into like this compound that they've built, but the second family are like kind of suspicious and like doing weird things, and there's hints that like they might be infected, and so it's kind of like more about like them not trusting each other and like the kind of fight between them. We never go outside the woods. We never get to see like the world outside of like what's in this compound. So I thought that was kind of cool. But
I remember seeing something about it, but I never watched it.
I think it's worth it. It's really good. Don't watch the trailers because even the title is stupid. It comes at night. Nothing ever comes at night. I'll spoil that for you. In the trailers they hype this up as like
now it's unwatchable. Thanks,
exactly. It just that pissed me off so much because A24 is the company that put it out. And they have a great track record as of late with putting out like really good movies. But I don't know, someone must have been asleep at the wheel when they marketed that, because it's like you watch the trailer and it's hyped up as like this, oh, we need to stay safe because there's this monster in the woods that comes out at night and it's going to get you. So you can't go outside and all that. But like there is no monster. There's no consequence to if you go out at night or not. Like it was so I don't know why they picked that for the title or why they marketed it that way. It was just kind of dumb.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they did that. It is odd how movies get marketed.
A24 especially, they have a real hit and miss. Like they'll either market something really well or they'll market it something really poorly.
I'm not. I don't understand the way certain things are marketed. It's just weird.
Yeah. All right. Then next up on the list we got Maggie. It's a zombie pandemic movie. I thought from an interesting angle where it's like I think I've told you about this one before. I don't know if you've seen it.
Maggie, is that the one with Nick Cage?
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Close.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different. It was like. It's another Nick Cage movie that starts with like an M, and but that's not a pandemic movie. Never mind.
Oh, okay. But yeah, no. Maggie was about it's a zombie virus, but it's like really slow acting. So like if you get infected with it, you have like actual like weeks before you fully it fully takes you over or whatever. So it's like Schwarzenegger is like this like all American like dad, even though he has a thick Austrian accent, and his daughter gets infected, and it's kind of like
I am a dad from America.
I am American dad, but his daughter gets infected, and it's about like his last few like weeks with her before she changes into a zombie. So it's a weird heartfelt movie that I kind of enjoyed. It has problems with it. For one, like I think like Schwarzenegger trying to do something like serious and dramatic. Just you have a really really tight script for that to work, and I don't think they've really done that.
Speaking of which, could you ever imagine if back in the day, like Schwarzenegger's heyday, if he did like a comedy movie where he was like a pizza man?
That would be funny. I'd watch something like that.
I would too. Just like hear him yell, "I have your pepperoni
I have
pizza."
pepperoni pizza. And then yeah, so those are the pandemic movies I picked out. So yeah, I guess if you want some highly relatable content in these trying times, feel free to watch any of those movies.